Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the IGR podcast. I'm sitting here with Shaun Williams. How are you, Shaun? What's up, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. A lot of stuff's been happening recently. I know we had this thing booked quite a while ago, but in light of everything, I just want to, start it out by saying, Black Lives Matter, rest in peace, George Floyd and everything like that. We were at the protest yesterday, and that was a really powerful thing. And I'm glad to see everybody who came out. I'm glad to be a part of it and everything like that. So, what's up, man?
Nothing much, like you said, just protest inequality. It's really a problem out here that needs to be addressed, which actually has been addressed, but it's just not getting through to those types of people. And, I'm slowly realizing the reason why on that end. But I mean, I've been chilling really. I just been working on getting my life and health insurance. So I've been really quiet down low because I've been studying for that nonstop last week into this week. Still keeping up training and everything with wrestling. Mats are closed, so I got to make the most of it with just body weight stuff and running, eating right and everything. On top of that, working on my motivational speech stuff, posting more on social media, getting that off the ground. Maybe someday I might make it into a business. So can't complain,
Okay.
just busy.
Well, that sounds pretty good. I mean, yeah, you touched on a few things there. You talked about racial inequality, motivational speaking, school and wrestling and stuff like that. So, in light of everything that's happened, I kind of want to dive right into it. So how's your view on everything that's happening? How are you feeling about it? Any thoughts on that?
I'm me personally. I talking on my point of view of this, I preach a lot about balance, in life, that there's both sides of the story. There's also, a good side and a bad side, or maybe even two different point of views. So me personally, with understanding what's going on, I want to dive into both sides, seeing the people that don't agree with the way that cops are treating Black people, but I also want to see the cops' perspective, or even white supremacists' perspective, and people who can't stand white supremacists. So me personally, I just I've always been a long-term type person. Like, what's this going to do? What is this going to prove now for people? And
What's
I've
the
realized
change?
exactly, and I've realized that people have been fighting for these types of things for 500 years. Our ancestors have been doing these types of things,
Mm-hmm.
and I realized that change is not going to spark unless it comes from the other side. And I realized that this is going to keep going. It's going to be a reoccurring thing, not saying that it's pointless, but at the same time, I'm saying, like, it doesn't stop. It doesn't end here. And, just for people posting a little black screen on their social media, they're like, okay, that's enough protesting for
So
today.
what are you saying? Are you saying like the protest was pointless, or what do you
No,
what
I'm
do you
not
mean?
saying it's pointless. I'm saying that it doesn't stop. Like, you need to keep going. It's like certain,
Consistency. Okay.
yeah, consistency will help, solve this problem, because it seems like in the past people would protest for maybe a couple of days and then that's it. This one seems different to me, if as long as people
Mm-hmm.
putting it on the head, eventually some change will spark. But I mean, regarding the issue, obviously I think that, racial inequality is wrong and that it needs to be addressed because it's obviously been a thing of the past and is still relevant now, which means there's been no change, and I always preach about people changing and growing and being better. And I think that's the frustrating part because it looks like the side that doesn't want to change is actually the law enforcers because, they
Okay.
they don't care. They don't care enough to actually listen to the people. They just, put them in a box and say, do better. And then it doesn't happen. It's just really fixed, and I believe that change will start once they believe that they need to change. And at this point, they don't care. They don't want to change. So it's just a really sad fact on that note, not to jump too much into being one-sided. I'm just noticing it
Well,
from.
no. Well, I mean, I think this is a huge part of the discussion. It's I like me personally, I feel as though you can't straddle the fence. Not anymore. You can't straddle. There's no, like, especially when we talk about this specific instance, maybe, in George Floyd, like specifically that. But really now the whole Black Lives Matter movement in general, you can't straddle the fence anymore. It's got to be either you're with us and your actions will show that, right? Not, again, like you said, not just posting, not just putting up a black thing or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Not just that, how you treat people. Do you hold people accountable? Stuff like that. So I feel like there's no saying on the fence, well, hey, you know, maybe I don't know, or, well, what did he do? Or, you know, those people. No. It's either you're with it or you're not.
Absolutely. No, you're right. And I am with it. But you know me. I mean, every single time we've been in high school together, I was never one to start confrontations, you know.
No.
I've been very kind of like passive in that sort, but I do believe now that if you're on the other side, you're wrong. You know, I actually had a whole conversation with my wrestling team the other day. I was pissed because, you know, my wrestling team is predominantly white, you know,
and you wrestle, what a school are you part of again? Just want to shout you out.
Sacred Heart University D1 wrestling team. You
Nice.
know, my school is predominantly white, let alone the wrestling team being predominantly white. They are strong Trump supporters, and I've seen that. I didn't know that. So, you know, they were very quiet.
Well, I don't want to. All right, so before we say this, I don't want to politicize it in terms of being, because I know Black Trump supporters who support the Black Lives Matter movement.
Okay, yeah.
So, absolutely. I mean, I don't want to politicize it, but I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're good. And I just realized, I guess the bottom line is I just realized they were really quiet in this terms. Now, I'm not a mind reader. I don't know what that means, but like people have been saying, you're either with us or you're against us. And I see that as them being against us. Right. So, you know, it's just the fact that if you don't believe in this, and I obviously stand for this, if you don't believe that what we're doing is right, or you don't like the fact that we're protesting, it shows a lot that you might be the problem and that you're pretty blind, you know, and you don't care and you're very
absolutely
selfish. So I do fight for that. But am I going to go out and, you know, punch a random white supporter in the face? No, that's not.
Well, I never think that violence is the answer. But
that's what I was.
Yeah, but then again, that does go to the point that people are angry right now. I mean, there's outrage, especially when you see something like that where he's on his neck for 9 minutes. It's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Exactly. On both sides.
What are you doing?
And the other cop is sitting there and he's like telling all the people to back away. Like I can obviously see that there's something wrong with this picture. He wasn't even fighting. He was calling for his mom. My mom told me that the other day. She's like, that really hurt as a mom.
And his mom's dead. That's the thing. Like, that's how it's just like he's calling from his mom in heaven. And it's like, oh, heartbreaking.
Exactly. And it's just like, you know, I was sitting there watching that full video. I don't normally cry at certain things, but I definitely felt like I was getting ready to cry because it's sad, you know, that they could just sit there and do that and then it's okay afterwards, you know. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, I do want to thank God that they have all been charged. I just looked at some recent news. They've all been arrested and charged, all 4 of those police officers, which is, of course, it's great and it's a step in the right direction, you know. But we want convictions, you know. We want these people to, like Steven Jackson was just talking about this morning on, I believe it was Skip Bayless, was ESPN, one or the other. He was saying, yeah, we want convictions, though, but more than that, we want everyone to be treated the same way they would treat, you know, an African American or whatever. We want everyone to be treated equally. Across the board. So that's definitely what I'm looking for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking for equality just as much as the next person that's protesting. But, you know, I look at the recent, you know, cases of, you know, the crimes with, you know, Black people dying under police enforcement. And it's really, really obvious, the scenarios between, you know, police trying to arrest white people and Black people. It's almost like a hate crime. I watched a video on YouTube the other day. They were trying to restrain this white guy. He had a pickup truck with all these firearms in there. He's literally fist fighting the cops to get away from them, and they're trying to hold him down. He's whacking them. It's a lady cop and another guy cop, and they're like, sir, stop. They haven't even pulled their guns out. They haven't even pulled their tasers out and everything. And then the guy is proceeding to beat up the cops literally. And once they were all, you know, disoriented in a way, he hops in their police cruiser and drives away with their cop car. Now, had a Black person did that, the second he puts his hands up to go fight back, he's gone. So I don't understand where's that
delay. Might have been shot right in his fucking head. Let's be real. Call it what it is.
Exactly. And I'm saying, why is he being treated differently than the Black person, you know? And that's just what I'm looking at. And I see it as being more of a hate crime, you know, not necessarily as them doing justice. And that's the biggest problem right there that I think.
Absolutely. 100%. So, can you just speak to how was your time at the protest we had here in Danbury, Connecticut? How was your time there? Maybe any feelings about that, how it went, how it was organized. Can you talk to me about that?
Well, I wasn't directly at the protest. I saw exactly what was going on because the streets were crowded, but I also
I'm sorry. So you weren't physically at the protest, to
was not
correct.
physically at the protest. I was actually helping a young man get further in his education because, he was reaching out to his friends to help him with his schoolwork. And had he not passed what he was doing, he would have failed.
Okay.
So I decided, he needed the homework to be due. It was due today, by the way. My mom called me and it's like, hey, can you help out this person? And I was like, I don't really want to, but at the same time, I realized like, hey, he could be another statistic had he not, further his education. Obviously,
Okay. Yeah.
I just thought that, that outweighed the cause of me going to the protest because I wanted to help somebody out. I'm the first person to help somebody out. But when I did see the protest because I was driving by and everything. I stopped my car to watch, and I had a sign, and I saw that everybody was out there chanting and everything, and I thought it was pretty peaceful. And I do think that what people were doing was a really good thing, especially in a town, like Danbury. It's very quiet here. Not a lot of people, not a lot of thing pops off here, but the fact that people were brave enough to go out protest. They even jumped on the highway. I-84 is busy as hell.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit too much, me personally. Be very honest. I think that I see the point, of course. Let me
Yeah.
see the point, but I didn't go to the highway. I didn't see, the need to go to the highway. Much if not all of much if not most people went back to the library. I know you weren't there, but went back to the library, and we had a moment there and spoke, and some people spoke to the crowd, and I think that was a real powerful moment and a peaceful moment to really bring the formal aspect of it to a close. And then of course people stayed after. Some people went down the street and they were doing what they may, but I think that was a really good part of it. So the highway part, I don't know, but yeah, but it was cool. Just to talk about my time there.
Absolutely.
It was super empowering to see so many diverse people there, because we live in a town with so much diversity, and we've had the benefit to grow up in a place where it's amazing if you have not one black friend, you know what I mean, or someone from a minority background. Like if you don't, then I feel like you're kind of making an effort not to. Like that's how diverse we are. Like you can't run from it. I mean, from the time you're in preschool to wherever, like there are people everywhere, and we're super diverse. So to see them go out, to see them show up, to see them be loud, of course, with all the other, black people, Spanish, whatever, Brazilians, to see everyone come out together, that was super empowering because it says, not only do you care, but, you took the time out of your day to come up and show up and be here. Of course, some people couldn't make it. That's why, there'll be one on Saturday. I believe it's the 8th, but I really thought that was a super good thing to see and have them. And I was super proud, I was super proud to be black, just like I am every day, being biracial, of course, but people don't let you choose that. You know what I mean? And it's not saying I wouldn't want to be anything else. You know what I mean? I love who I am, and I love the fact that a lot of people were there and they showed up. That was great. That was great.
No, you're right. And it also shows too, I mean, obviously I wasn't there, but it shows that people can set aside their differences with other people. Because I guarantee you there are people that have had problems with each other in the past, and they
Yeah.
put those aside to really come together and fight for a cause together, and that's amazing in itself as well. Wish I could have went though.
Yeah. Yeah. So just pivoting a little bit. So you said that you wrestle. Of course, you go to which is in Denver, Connecticut, it's more of a white dominated sport. I mean, most places too. So how was it going through school wrestling, coming up in this sort of like this white sphere, pretty much, but being black, wrestling, the racial inequalities, was there any of that? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I applaud. I'm very happy that I went to college. And the opportunities that I have going to Sacred Heart, it's really a great thing that I do not regret at all. Going to a predominantly white school didn't really bother me when I started to go there because I knew that
Yeah.
it had what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
in life. And that's all that mattered to me. It wasn't about the social aspect, but, going through there, especially, going through their schools, predominantly white. I mean, sometimes I'm the only black person in the class of 25, and
Wow. Wow.
yeah, exactly. And sitting there, it's like a little unnerving, and it's bothersome because I'm the only person here, skin color wise, that's like it's sticking out like a sore thumb. And I don't like to draw attention to myself like that, but it was a nice adjustment. I mean, I haven't had really any type of situation, me personally, towards
Mm-hmm.
being that I am black and everything there. So it wasn't really bad, so to speak, but definitely when you try to make your mark, like because I started the motivational speech thing when I was at Sacred Heart, trying to make my mark
Right.
in that way with giving people, something to think about every single day consistently, it does draw it's a little bit of hate from certain people, because I noticed at Sacred Heart that, somebody came up to me and they were like, yeah, I think people come up to me every day. They're like, yeah, I love that you do the speeches and everything. Like, oh my God, look, it's Shaun Williams. I'm so serious. Like, I'm walking through
Yeah.
the giving me a look. And they were sitting there and they were like, people at this school don't really like change all that much. I mean, you could tell by the dorms. The freshman dorms have been there since the beginning of time. And so they don't really like change. So when I tried to come in there and invoke change with the motivational speeches, I think a couple of times freshman year, I had people mocking me. I had people, sitting there saying, oh, your speeches are funny, or you should really stop, you shouldn't do them. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, no, because I have people over here that are thanking me 25-8 about the fact that I
Yeah.
a subject that was very weak, and I shed light on it, instead of being impartial and biased. I even spread messages that are like, relate, you can relate it on both sides, like I talk about balance. So doing that, like I said, I've only experienced that type of, negativity from certain people. But I mean, living where I'm at, I mean, I surprisingly in a white dominated school, I found, a group of black people just like me to hang out with every single day. And, it's just been fine. The adjustment's been fine. But you definitely see that side of, the kind of racism ish at Sacred Heart, because it's not so much of upfront in your face racism. It's very quiet people in the way that
Yeah.
they move. Like some people will mistake you as somebody else by accident, but it's like you didn't think enough to think that we don't all look alike. That shows up a lot. And
Okay.
sitting here and I'm like, wow, that's a big red flag at the school that I go to. And people, believe it or not, we actually had 2 instances where it was, like just complete racism that happened at our school over the internet, over social media. This one guy had a NBA 2K player. He created him to be, African American, above 6 feet, pretty tall, good
Mm-hmm.
cartoon character. And on the back, he had a tattoo that said, I hate N-words, full hard R and everything.
Wow.
And I got on Twitter and people saw his name, circled it. Bunch of, obviously, people of color emailed the Sacred Heart University, the president, saying, this is what you allow at our school. And they were very, very mad. That kid actually has gotten suspended from Sacred Heart. Kid came by and said, oh, that was my brother. I didn't even know. I'm sorry about that. So, whether or not it was true or not, it wasn't a really stable basis, was let alone acceptable enough to say like this was okay, because it wasn't okay.
Yeah, not
And
at all.
go ahead.
Oh no, yeah, I was just gonna say like, not at all. And I think it takes, institutions and people and direct relationships between people to hold them accountable on every level. On every level. Of course, like there's things that are jokes or people may talk real quick and stuff like that. But in terms of the masses and having like these little microcosms of this, well, not so much a microcosm, but just these little instances in which you're relating and talking to someone and someone's not being or doing what they should be doing. And what I mean by that is talking to people appropriately, or if you're with someone and they're sliding someone because of the color of their skin or something like that, come on, hold them accountable in that space. Hold them accountable all the time. So I definitely commend your institution for doing that. And we've seen on Twitter, a lot of different cases just like that, if not much more harsher things, I would say, and they're getting them. Boom, 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 boom. And they're just getting them because you have to hold these people accountable.
Yeah, no, you're right. And it's just like crazy how people, but it still happens. And I don't think that, holding people accountable, that's great and all, but I don't think that's still not enough for people to not keep doing it. Like people
Hmm.
are still going to be racist. People are still going to grow up and not like a certain color or race or ethnicity of people. And that's a huge problem that needs to be adjusted on, a teaching scale. If even institutions and stuff teach about, equality, I think that would really make a difference. Because like I said, racism, well, like not like what I said, but what a lot of people are saying is that racism is not inherent. Like it's not, you're not born racist, it's taught.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
could teach people the, both sides of the story, balance, like I was talking about, other races, other ethnicities, making it more diverse. I think that will eliminate some of the racial inequalities and also the judgments. And once we start there on the teaching aspect, I think that's what will make the biggest difference. Like we can keep saying and stuff like that, but it's a matter of doing, not much of saying. Once you really see the change.
Right, right, absolutely. And just really just piggybacking off of that. So what do you think are, like you talked about long-term solutions, like where do you think it starts? Like, so for me, I feel like a lot of it starts at home. It starts with relationships. It starts with education, fiscally education, as well as so many, like you said, so many different things. Starts with, PTSD training in inner cities, stuff like that. Just like there's a lot of different therapeutic things you can do, but there's a lot of things that goes into it. So how do you think we can sort of change, and what's the next steps?
I think it's like I said, teaching young that there's other people out there that are different from you, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. That they have just as much as worth as you. And that you're in a group of people which are special, but also there are other groups of people which are special too. Teaching that equality at a young age in educations institutions. Walking around when you're with your parents in the store, like you see it all the time in news that people are telling their kids, we don't like those types of people. We don't want to be with those types of people in grocery stores.
Ooh, fuck them,
Exactly.
fuck
And
them.
that's exactly where it's going. And that's where we need to teach people. Like that's where it mostly matters, because that's when you're in stores, you're with different types of people, and it's just educational wise, coming as a parent, starting with parenthood, teaching your kids that it's okay to be different, or, other skin colors is not a bad thing. So I definitely believe in that. And then growing from that, teaching it in schools and, because, everybody, believe it or not, has to go through school, elementary to high school,
Of
so
course.
teaching it there is the greatest place to start it, because, it'll be fresh in their head. So when they go out there, and then they'll be able to experience it with more experience, whether they go to college or not, more experience, they'll get better at it. So I
Hmm.
definitely believe, educationally it's taught about
So,
equality.
so yeah, so I know you talked a little bit about your time in sports, and maybe some injustices there, just different stuff like that. But is there a way that you can bring that to your locker room? Like you said, you had a conversation with some of your teammates. How would you go and sort of like make a voice and sort of be seen in that way in your own locker room?
Yeah. Um, you know, I'm, the team dynamic, I'm not going to get into, personal things about how they act and everything. But I mean, me personally, I'm much of a doer. You got to do, especially in a locker room full of guys. Like everybody can have these conversations about, oh, what we're gonna do next, what it shoulda, coulda, and everything. And I want to do this, I want to do that. The best thing you got to do is just show it. A lot of the teammates will listen to somebody who's very successful in wrestling, wins a lot, is a leader, is a captain. Regardless if they like him or not, they're gonna listen to him because he's got that authoritative, thing over you.
And they've
So
really earned that respect. Yeah.
exactly, and they've earned it. That's exactly right. And with that, showing it on the mat, something that I could do is show it on the mat, show it in my work ethic, show it in practice. That listen, I'm not using my skin color as a means of wrestling. I'm just wrestling because I'm a wrestler. I'm not a black wrestler. I'm just a wrestler. So I'm going to
Mm.
wrestle and show them, like, if I can do it, you do it too. It's not a huge issue on the team as much. I mean, it's not a huge issue, but it's like something that should be taught just by doing, not necessarily saying, because you could go back and forth and talk about it, but there's really no change. So, I mean,
Okay, so do you think so based off that, then do you think there should be some sort of diversity training for college athletes, maybe on a larger scale, like some, maybe an hour a week or something like that?
No, not really. I just think it's the building dynamic from the coach, just the coach saying like, hey, listen, I'm going to treat you guys as equals, and just everyday kind of thing, moving, process throughout the day, telling people that like, or your teammates, listen, you're my brother, creating that brotherhood atmosphere. Because when you realize that, like when we had our football team, we all didn't get along that much, but I mean, at the end of the day, we still had some sort of respect for each other because we created
Absolutely.
a bond. Creating that bond, I think, will eliminate a lot of the, judgments you get from other people. So I think, as a team, just being closer with them, I think would also create it, because you realize a lot of people have judgments for other people because they're really distant. Like you can't ask those
Mm-hmm.
people, what do you know about that person? Chances are they're going to be like, well, I don't really know anything about them, but I think, and then you go into the whole thought process of what they think is that person, and they could be completely wrong. So I think really getting to know your teammates and really getting to, get along with them, or seeing what you guys' likes and differences are and playing with that and realizing what your threshold and not during practice, the outside of practice, is a way to just eliminate judgment and hate and all that stuff. So
So,
yeah,
so you
definitely.
don't. Okay, I mean, I definitely see what you're saying. I see the value in what you're saying, but you don't think that there should be any sort of mandated diversity training. So, or like anything. There should be nothing. There should be no pressure on you, saying it should grow organically.
Yeah, growing organically is the best thing, because if you're really strict on some, if you're really strict on certain subjects, obviously there's a little bit of rebellion that could come after that. And I think that, if you keep telling, well, we're going to go to a mandatory 1 hour diverse training, some people are not going to show up. And when they don't show up, they're not going to learn anything. And that hour could have been.
Well, I feel like that's the point, though. It's mandatory, so you got to be there to wrestle.
Yeah, I know. Well, okay. Well, in that aspect, yeah, but
Mandatory, yeah.
yeah, but if it doesn't grow organically, what are you really learning when you're telling them to do something? What are you really learning when it's forced upon you? You don't want it, but it's forced on you. So I don't agree that there should be some mandatory thing. I think it should grow organically or not. But at the same time, you can't really hate that's not there, especially if it's just in your head. You're thinking that this person doesn't like you. You're just driving yourself crazy. There's been nobody on my team that's told me, oh, I hate you because of the color of your skin. So
Well,
I'm
I
not.
mean, I think that very few racists may actually, especially in the Northeast, are actually going to say, "Hey, I don't like that dude because he's
Yeah,
black." But
yeah,
I think it's about those microaggressions, though. Like, do you see any of that happening?
yeah. Oh, like the kind of the subtle kind of stuff.
Yeah, because I feel like that's really sort of like my point in a way. It's like it's not the egregious acts of calling you a nigger or something like that. No, it's the sleight of hand things, or you know what I mean, sort of like, I don't think I want to be around that guy. Or again, like you said, a lot of the subtle things.
Absolutely. No, okay, no, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I noticed that too because, well, I noticed that not only my team, but in a school, during these times, I realized before the protesting, a lot of Sacred Heart people are, um, posting stuff on their Instagrams or stories, them at the beach, in their very expensive houses and stuff like that, and living a really great lifestyle. But ever since these protests, and came up and people have been speaking out about, the injustice, they've been very quiet. And that bothers me because no silence is just as good as being on the other side, not saying anything. And I've noticed that between my, teammates and also people that go to Sacred Heart, that they've been very quiet. And actually, in one of my speeches the other day, I called them out on it, them being quiet. And surprisingly enough, they all started talking up, and they posted those Blackout Tuesday pictures, and they hit me up talking about, yeah, I just want to let you know, there's no beef between us, but I'm sticking with you, and for me, that means a lot because, communication, especially at our age, is not like a big thing. People don't really communicate. They don't have these types of talks. They don't have podcasts started, so
Mm-hmm.
just even saying something to somebody regarding that topic coming from them means a lot to me, and that resonates with me. But I mean, the subtlety that you were talking about, I see that all the time, just by people, not supporting this movement and you just not caring. That's just enough words to not tell me that you just don't care enough, that you think it doesn't affect you, but it does, and that's a lot of not all, but that's some of the Sacred Heart body that I'm getting from that. They're not talking in this case. And I'm like, that says a lot. I think I need to move differently. I was just talking to one of my friends, his friend, he had posted something. He's also a black friend. He posted something on his Snapchat regarding,
Mm-hmm.
if you're not with us, you're against us. and he had one of his friends who was actually white. He swiped up on the picture. This is at Sacred Heart. He swiped up on the picture and he said, "That's a tough pick." That's it. Didn't say anything regarding the issue. Didn't say
Oh, fuck. What do you
Exactly.
mean it's a tough pick?
Exactly. He's disregarding the whole entire situation. He said the picture looks nice, basically, and he didn't say anything. That really rubbed my friend the wrong way.
Okay, I see. I mean, that's a tough picture. He's using lingo. I thought you
Yeah,
meant like it's a tough choice between,
no, like it's a tough picture, and that's really vague. Like we said, we're not mind readers, so you just regarding like the picture's nice, like you're not.
Oh, I
Really
see what you're saying. Yeah.
You're not really addressing a situation and stuff like that. And so he was really mad about that. So I went into my group chat and I was like, "Hey guys, so-and-so is really upset about it. How do you feel?" And our group chat, besides us two, is all white. They're all white in there. And so we were like, "So how do you guys feel in that situation?" And they're like, well, I support it. I like you guys, there was nothing wrong between us and everything. And I just thought that, what's going on is wrong, taking a very, they were telling us what we wanted to hear as much. But I mean,
Yeah, because this is really like what I want to know about is it's like, are they saying that to pacify, or well, you blacks are cool, but what about everybody else? It's more, how do you treat other people, or when you're not in the room, what are they saying about you, or you know what I mean? Like, are they just pacifying you, or what's really going on?
I
How do
mean,
you feel?
like I said, I mean, I'm not a mind reader in sorts, but I've heard stories about, people saying, not liking black people, especially at Sacred Heart. It's very like behind closed doors kind of thing. And that is, to answer your question, that is very prevalent. The subtlety is always there. Have I came across it, me personally, a few times, and the times that I've told you is the only times that I've got it, but I've heard other times. I mean, this one girl is in the room with her friends, and this just happened. She was in the room with her friends, and she was like referring to so-and-so. I forgot his name, but she was like, "So-and-so, I hate you. You're such a fucking black nigger." This is a white girl on the cheer team. She was
Whoa.
recorded. She immediately the next day was suspended. Her cheer thing is taken away. She's gone. She's out of Sacred Heart. But things like that behind closed doors, I'm pretty sure that happens all the time. People just are not recording. So that does happen at Sacred Heart, a lot. And, it's really sad that, I have to go back to that in the fall. And can I trust the people that are around me that I'm in close proximity with like that? It's really nerving. But I mean, like I'm a very determined person to go get what I want, and that's not going to stop me because, at the end of the day, I need to graduate, and being social is.
True, but how do you do that along the way, right? So like, how do you hold these people accountable along the way of staying? Because I get what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Okay,
it's
yeah.
it's the dichotomy between being social and be able to honestly just generally enjoy yourself, but also having to, in a way, sort of like fight and, like we talked about, call people out or even hold them accountable for what's going on or what's happening.
Well, I start with my friends, really, because obviously at Sacred Heart, I have mostly white friends, and I start with them, and I point out sometimes where it's where they can have some racial tendencies, and I stop it right in the bud, and I'm like, "Hey, listen, dude, I know it might not have," and I give them the benefit of the doubt. I know you might have not meant what you said like that, but I want to let you know that that really is offensive to me, and I'm very calm about it, and I'm very, passive in letting them know, like, "Hey, listen, that's not cool." And most of the time they're like, "Oh, okay, dude, I'm sorry. It won't happen again." Do I know if it's not gonna happen again in front of me or behind me? I mean, I don't know. But I mean, just hoping that that's enough to tell them, "Okay, listen, dude, that wasn't cool," and calling them out on it at that spot verbally would be is
So
the done.
yeah, so do you get into like the why? You mean the why behind why that's even a thing for them? You know what I mean? Do you get sort of into a deeper conversation about it, or is it more just like, that's fucked up? All right, boom, boom.
Well, no, I do get into the why. Like, for instance, like, people, the thing going around in social media and also in person too is, regarding white people saying the N-word, some of my friends say the N-word and I tell them like, "Hey, dude, listen, I don't appreciate that you say that in front of me." So giving them that why of why not to say the N-word is exactly what I give them after they have said it. And I'm like, "Listen, when you say the hard R or the A, it's referring to, black people in chains, and that's just disrespectful to my people. You just throwing it around and stuff like that." And I give them that whole long spiel about why you shouldn't be saying it, at least around me,
Yeah.
and especially in a negative connotation. And they know. So at least, I mean, if they do it again, I mean, at least they're not stupid. They know exactly, they remember that conversation that I had with them. So, giving them that why is absolutely something I do, but I can only do it to the people that I know are my friends and everything. Cause I'm not the one to go out to somebody on the random street. Hey, you said the N-word, and try to be the N-word police to everybody, because, you can't control, human behavior and stuff like that, on a large scale as an individual. It's something that takes time that, is very hard to do. Do I have that time? I mean, not really, but I can only hold the ones that I care about accountable, because, I really care about them, and they should really care about me too.
Okay. I definitely see what you're saying. Yeah. So just moving on a bit. So about your motivational speeches, I know you said it started out even on campus. So it started It started your freshman year, right? A couple years ago. And you said you got some people talking about it. They didn't know how to receive it. So talk to me about that. How did it start? Why are you doing it? What do you do? You know what I mean? What is it?
So basically, I'll start from when I moved in freshman year. I was taking pictures of my family because they moved me into college, and I'll never forget it. They said, "All right, we're leaving now," and I said, "Okay." They went. My dad was the last one out the door. That door slammed. I heard the echo throughout all the hallways and everything, and I'm like sitting there in my chair. I'm like,
Damn.
wow, I'm on my own now. I really got to do something for myself. My parents are not here. And it just clicked to me. I was like, okay, I got to get out here. I got to get to know people. I got to make some sort of ground, because, I want to do it differently than I did in high school. High school, I was really quiet. I was very, non-confrontational, but I really kept to myself and everything. And in college, I was like, I want to do the opposite, just to see what it's like, just to see who I'm going to be. So I just immediately got out, started to get to know people around my way, getting to know my neighbors. And then one day I woke up one time, and it was like a Friday, because I think I got to school on a Wednesday. And as a joke, on Friday night, I was telling people, I was like, hey, listen, be careful out there. The party life is wild, just make sure you're okay. And a lot of people, I got like a couple hundred views, and people are like, oh, thanks, swiping up, laughing and stuff like that. And it just dawned on me, because I was heading to my friend's room. I was like, you know what? I want to do something different. I want to be memorable. My mom always taught me to be memorable and stand out. So I was like, you know what? I think I should do motivational speeches. I give people really good advice, at least the people I was talking to. And so the next morning I woke up and I said, hey, it's your boy Shaun Williams back at it again. Listen,
Wait, say your tag again?
It's your boy Shaun Williams back at it again.
Nice.
Yeah, and I decided to do that as a joke, because that was a joke in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided, like, hey, listen, be great today. Have a good one. And then automatically, I just started getting, people swiping up saying like, oh, I needed this, you're really inspirational, I think you should keep doing these. And after a day, it kept circulating. And, at Sacred Heart, we had these geographical stories, and that's where I put mine. They had them
Right.
underneath all the freshman dorms. So when you posted a video, you put it to the geographical story, and everybody who was there could see it. Now, we had a couple thousands of people on that. So when I posted it, I was getting 500, 600 views of people watching it, people adding me, commenting, saying, wow, this is amazing. You should keep doing this, So I just kept it up. And I haven't really stopped since freshman year. I kept going. And people could say, like freshman year, oh, you're so excited. You're driven. You're like, yeah, it's that like kind of runner's high you get when it's freshman year. You're so excited.
Absolutely, yeah.
But that really stuck with me, because I knew I was doing something right. And, my fan base is growing, but the good part about it is in the beginning, there were people there that weren't actual supporters. Now I believe I have actual supporters, because I have those good, I'd rather, instead of having millions, I'd rather have a good solid 30, 50 heads that watch my stuff religiously and care about it and comment and say that stuff, rather than millions of people who are just, clicking through it at the minimum, because my message is to get to you, to make you think for the rest of the day. And I did that because I realized, the obligatory, we're all in the same boat. Why not help each other? So I just realized that, I need help getting to know people, growing in this world. Maybe if I help you now, you could help me later, kind of thing,
Ooh, okay.
So, and that's why I kept doing it, and I'm going to keep doing it, because now it's habit. Now I wake up at around 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, gotta do the speech. That's always ringing on my head every single time I wake up. So now I'm just like, I do it, and I'm like, okay, now I can relax. So I just keep doing it. And, I like to see the looks on people's face. The last thing, I like to see a look on people's face when, they see me in the hallways or in person, they're like, their face just lights up. They're like, oh shit, it's that guy. It's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Well, you mean, I think it's really positive what you're doing. And of course, I've been following you for a while, and I remember like talking to you early on when it was just maybe a couple seconds, when then you get longer ones, or maybe sometimes you just even do short ones. But I think it's definitely the consistency.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite quotes, it says, there's either the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And I think
Mm.
it's extremely commendable, what you're doing and being consistent in that, and doing it every day. So now you're saying it's habitual. It's a habit that you love to do. It started from wanting to get out there to something you're seeing the real impact of it, and that's phenomenal. But yeah, so just to not so much pivot, but just to go a little deeper into that. I know earlier you talked about, hopefully sometimes one day you can make money off of it. So do you have plans to possibly monetize this, or what ways are you thinking about making money off of it maybe in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I was, not to get in too much of the detail, because, sometimes when you talk about your story so much, it ends up not coming true for yourself because you lose that motivation because you talked about it so much.
Hmm.
But I mean,
Shut
absolutely.
up. Shut up and put up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I decide, I want to make it into my own business when I get older. Obviously, something to do as a side hustle, because, the biggest thing I want to do is be a sales manager for a corporation as a holistic kind of view. That's my life goal pretty much. And on the side, I do my motivational speeches, turning it into something that will be accustomed to the way that society is growing, you know, throughout life, if that makes any sense. I want to change it into a business where people always need it, as being some sort of asset for them, a verbal asset that they want in life, that they could keep going to and getting. So, changing it into a small business, monetize, yes, absolutely. But, the biggest thing for me is I'm doing it because I want to touch people. I want to get to
Yeah.
people, send them that message, not necessarily the materialistic fact. I don't really care about all that. I really just want to get that message to people and let them know, like, hey, listen, I believe you're a strong individual and you have this great opportunity and ability to get what you want in life. I want to help you unlock that. And that's why I do them, because I know that everybody has potential to be something great or do something that they want in life. But sometimes they don't have that motivation to get them there, that push, that mentor to get them there, and I give them a nice 30-second video to at least get them thinking throughout the day, like, okay, maybe if I make this decision in my life, I could get them there, adjusting my business when after college to something like that, where it could be some sort of a mentorship problem or thing that is going to help people get what they want in life.
Okay.
So
Nice. I like it. So, as we sort of wind down here a bit, who are some of like your, I don't want to say idols, but people you look up to? Maybe it's a celebrity, maybe it's your parents. So people who've really had an impact on your life and sort of gives you in the right direction.
absolutely. I mean, first I got to say my mom, like obvious, my mom is always been,
Love Gail.
yeah, she's been a great
Is she
motivational person.
around? Is she around? Where's Gail?
No, she's actually coming home from work shortly. She should be in the door any minute. I don't know.
Oh,
But yeah, my mom, giving me tough talks about things and, saying the ugly side of things has really pushed me to want to be better, not necessarily make me run away, but run into it, and doing that. I also look up to like Denzel Washington, and his speeches are always so impactful that it just resonates with me.
yeah.
Dwayne Rock Johnson has some good stuff out there. Devon Franklin, Megan Good's husband, Will Smith a couple of times, just, the pretty peer celebrities that have obviously been motivational speakers I look up to,
Hmm.
and not so much of me look, you know, idling them. It's much of them motivating me to kind of guide my way to where I want to go. I mean, I taught myself how to do this. Nobody else, you know, told me to do this and then you were really good at it. Really. It was me saying like, I knew I had this in me. So let me do it. And I know I'm going to keep having it in me. There was no real motivational speaker that I've been looking up to my past 15, 20 years of my life. It's just, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it because I know this is what I'm capable of and I'm good at it. So I'm going to keep going. And that's pretty much the only people I look up to. I mean, I don't really like surround my speeches around them as much as I use what they're saying to complement the philosophy and ideas that I have for myself. Make
Awesome. Awesome. I love that. I love that. So, do you have any like gems for people or things that, tricks you've picked up on the way, whether that be for communication or just, any type of education, anything you want to, put out there for the people, that any resources that they could go to, anything like that?
Absolutely. I mean, in life, it's really funny. You get what you put in, believe it or not. You really do get what you put in. If you put in that consistent, harder, work smarter effort, it's got to be working hard and working smart. Because, you could work hard and get absolutely nowhere. But if you're working towards something the smart way, you could get somewhere and almost use little to no energy to do it. And, working hard, working smart, but also realizing that, it starts with you. You got to want to be able to do it. It's got to be a priority. Things that you make, the decisions you got to make have to be a priority. I realized I was in a webinar with this guy. He was at Sacred Heart. He was talking. The most memorable thing I'll never forget. He said, people make decisions based on two things. Two things. And that's, they make decisions to either feel good or to not get hurt. That's why people make decisions on everything. To feel good or not get hurt. Be comfortable. And that's the thing. True progress and true, change in life starts at the end of your comfort zone. And I talked about that a lot in the beginning of my stages, but you really, really got to step outside that box, outside that comfort zone.
Be comfortable being uncomfortable. Absolutely.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I'm telling people, throughout life. You gotta want it. It's got to be a priority. And I guess the last thing is, priorities. If you didn't do it, if you didn't get it, if you didn't want it, it wasn't a priority to you. And it's that serious. You didn't care enough. And that's the ugly truth about it. That's a tough pill to swallow for most people. But you didn't get what you didn't get is because you didn't want it bad enough. You didn't prioritize it good enough. You have time to check your social media, but I mean, you got a test to study for that's coming up tomorrow.
Oh, okay. I mean, and you're absolutely right, especially like on a practical level, something like that, like a test or working out. Yeah.
Exactly. It's about how bad you want it. I can't, a lot of people come to me talking about, oh, I can't lose weight. I'm like, you can lose weight. You just don't want it bad enough.
Just go fucking get it.
Exactly. You can go do it. It's just about the amount of if you want it or not, and that's
absolutely
pretty much that I have to say.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I appreciate your time. I appreciate everything. Ken, if I can ask you to please, can you just bless us with one of your speeches on the way out? That would be phenomenal, Shaun.
Absolutely. Let me start with the tag and everything too.
Do your thing, baby.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Shaun Williams back at it again. Listen, doesn't matter where you come from, who you are, where you came from, where you're going. You are somebody special. You are somebody who's unique, regardless of your skin color, regardless of what your past was. You can make a difference just by the sheer will of what you believe in, the faith, the intelligence, the, consistency, the hard work, and the smart work. You can get what you want in life. Trust me. It's going to be hard. I'm not saying it's easy. Obviously, it's easier said than done. But you could go get it if you want it bad enough. Make it a priority. Go get it. Have a good one.
Thanks, baby. I appreciate it. Guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in, for staying along this whole time. This was a nice conversation with Shaun. I appreciate his time he took out. As always, you can find us on YouTube, Instagram, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify. Shout out The Law. He provides us with our beats that you will usually hear on the podcast. And of course, are sponsored by Vision Apparel, Vision Clothing. We definitely appreciate them. So yeah, this is a good one. Go get it. Be great. Of course, Black Lives Matter. We talked about a lot of serious stuff, but the fight has to continue. So thank you.